children, the unborn citizens, weak and defenseless yet remain innocent. When murder pills get fed into their system, they crying out for help but nobody would listen. The bodies of infants crushed in an instant, heart stops beating in an amniotic prison. Give them all a chance and don't take away their dignity. We're trying to save lives here and not cause a tragedy. Turn the lights up, put down your forceps. Why you wanna take a life with no purpose? Oh mama, can you hear my heartbeat in your room? Your choice, don't cry, mama, I'll be dead soon. Turn the lights up, put down your forceps. Why you wanna take a life with no purpose? Oh mama, can you hear my heartbeat in your room? Your choice, don't cry, mama, I'll be dead soon. Whatever happened to the sanctity of life? When babies are discarded, cut open with a knife. You say that they're retarded, so it justifies your rights. But that's a violation, it's against human rights. So if you really cared, you would fight for their protection instead of blaming your spouse for not using contraception. Now you wanna give it if the product of conception. That's the reason why we're giving it global attention.
Hello, my name is Abishek Clifford. I'm producing this series on cyber ethics for the Goa Board of Education, and this is the introduction. This session is a training session for lecturers and teachers who will be involved in teaching computer awareness and cyber ethics. And this is really given the motivation and the training behind and the philosophy behind why we're addressing the issue of cyber ethics for the younger generation. In Rescue, we've done extensive research and survey on the amount of pornography which the young people are watching today. And I want to talk about that for a little while now. When you understand the extent of the problem, you'll realize why we need to cover these issues so directly. I'm a statistics higher secondary school lecturer from London, and as well as I taught ethics and statistics, and we surveyed 3,500 college and higher secondary school students across South India, and we found the following results. We didn't ask people directly, are you watching pornography, how much? Because they always say, no sir. So what we did was we asked about their friends, their close friends, people they knew, their relatives, people their age. We did this in hundreds and hundreds of colleges with a random sample of 15 students per college. Some were not interested, so we had to turn them down. Mostly we surveyed boys. We had male staff with boys and female staff with girls, but mostly we surveyed the boys. And this was our results. The girls will start watching porn in year 11 on average. The boys will start watching porn year 8 or year 9 at high school on average. They will watch, by the time they finish high school, they will be watching the girls the girls at high secondary 1 hour per week, but the boys excuse me, will watch an average of 7 hours a week of sex videos. This was really disturbing, and this is one of the multitude of surveys that have been done that has led for the introduction of cyber ethics into the syllabus across India, and I'm glad it's been introduced in Goa. The average guy will have seen 90,000 pornographic images by the time he's married. What chance will his future wife have of satisfying him? If he's watching all these sex scenes and all these perverse photos, will his wife really be able to live up to his expectations? And all this pornography is a false. It doesn't teach them anything healthy about sexuality. It is a false version. It takes away the innocence of children. It ruins marriages, causes divorces. It's inspiring antisocial behaviour, abuse, rape on the increase in India, some of which we'll talk about in this session. We can't fully blame the younger generation for getting addicted to pornography. We shouldn't have allowed it in the first place. We need to deal with it on the internet. Just imagine saying goodnight to your son and saying, okay, good night Johnny, now I'm going downstairs now, but don't look outside your bedroom window because there are 3 high school girls undressing, and don't look out the window, be a good boy, good night Johnny, and then you go off. Now will Johnny look out of his window or not? He's 14 years old. He doesn't have integrity and self-control developed. He doesn't have a wife to be loyal to. He doesn't have that jealous, burning passion for one lady, his wife. Yes, of course he's going to look. That's what he's on hormones since about 2 years now. And of course he wants to look and investigate. He's curious. This curiosity and this desire growing in young people, when we make it available for them, not behind physical windows, but behind Microsoft Windows and behind their smartphones, is causing the epidemic of pornography today. Pornography is more addictive than cocaine. We have the signs on our walls of our colleges and schools. No tobacco, no drugs, no alcohol, no ragging. That's good, but that was the issue of the 20th century. Don't we realise we're in the 21st century? The signs should have those and also include no rape videos on your mobile. No bunking class to go off into the forest with a young girl. No trusting a guy and getting in the car with him who you've met on Facebook because he may be a predator. No watching child pornography. These are the issues that are going on today, and you see, what's happened is, why are we having computer awareness at all in our syllabus? What was it, 20 years ago? It was barely there. The good side of technology increase. We teach on the computer awareness, the programming, basic Windows and Internet Explorer, how to fill in forms online. Because our world is digital now, it's all on the internet. So much of it is on the internet. And it's good, technology is excellent, there's so many advantages. Communication. However, we've changed our syllabus to educate people on the good side, but we haven't yet, well we have now, changed the syllabus to warn them of the negative and the downside. And until there will always be some of this available. However many blocks we put, we need to put the blocks on the internet, but there will always be CDs coming in, and now it can be homemade pornography. So we always need to be addressing this issue of the 21st century, addiction to watching sex on their mobiles. We have to deal with it. And this purpose of this seminar is to inform the teaching staff why and how we need to handle these issues. We're having sessions with all the principals and headmasters, headmistresses in Goa. For the Director of Education is organising that, and also with all the counsellors and supervisors in Goa. So they're trained and ready. We're getting materials. Hopefully you should find these books and DVDs in all the libraries of all the schools and all the colleges in Goa, which are available to help. If you have questions and you feel you can't answer this, it will help you to be able to deal with this issue. Now, let's just really imagine, let's just think about what's going on. Well, we have 60% from high school children who are 60% have a boyfriend, girlfriend at high school now. The difference is, from previous generations, is they can spend 2 hours a day in personal time. An hour on the way home from school, college, and an hour after mum and dad have gone to sleep on their mobile. In other words, the mobile gives them access, unless the parents carefully supervise or remove it in the night, to their boyfriend's bedroom. He'll be watching all these sex videos and then phoning, the girls in your classes in the night. So these things have to be addressed. Technology has changed the parameters. We cannot hide away. There was a headmaster, excellent principal in a pharmacy college in one city of South India. He boasted to me and said, "We do not allow the girls and the boys even to speak together." I said, "Excuse me one moment, sir." I got out the survey that I did in 4 of his degree classes. I said, "Sir, according to the girls in your college, that's not quite true. 53% of the students in your college are sleeping with their boyfriend, their girlfriends." And he didn't even think that their boys and girls are talking to each other. We need to wake up. I think people are waking up. We're catching the girls watching these movies in the lunch hour. We're catching these guys coming in on their... we're seeing that we confiscate the pen drives, the year 9 girls are swapping, and we're finding on the pen drives all these videos which we've never even seen, which we didn't even believe. It's beyond. Sometimes we're shy, thinking, should we really speak about this at high school level? By the time they end high school, They know all about these things. But this lecture is primarily for, I believe, the higher secondary school teachers and the counsellors and computer awareness teachers. There are some discussions that need to be done. There are books being produced or have been produced. But we're making these video lectures so that the embarrassing side can be dealt with by professionals, people that speak about this all the time. I've spoken on this issue to about 60,000 students per year with my team, and we've done this in 400 colleges already as of 2014 in South India, and we're getting invitations all over India. When we go to a higher secondary school, if there's a high school in the same compound, again and again, when they find out, they say, we need this program at high school. And I'm glad that in Goa this is being introduced, cyber ethics in a slightly more milder version, even from year 9 and year 10, which is excellent, so that we can warn the students of what they're really getting into and touch their consciences. You know, we show a video of a guy that's addicted to heroin, and the students never forget the images of this guy who's dropped out of school. It does have an effect on most people. They will be tempted at college and they'll say no to drugs because they remember the images. We have to show them shocking images. We need to touch them powerfully so that they will not get into these habits. Some of the things that, as you see on the videos, as you sit with the class and keep them quiet, watching a video lecture, you see, we have digital problems today, so we have digital solutions. But some of the things are a little embarrassing, shocking, hard-hitting, but it's because we've got very, very dangerous philosophy being injected into the next generation. They are being taught that any amount of sex with anyone, any sex is okay, any number. They are being taught don't have to wait for marriage. Condoms are 100% successful when they're only 75% in a one-year relationship. They are being taught a perverse version of sexuality that is very unhealthy and is not wanted in an ethical, traditional society like India. Countries across the world now are blocking all internet pornography. The ladies in Iceland rose up, and there's a now bipartisan movement that all internet pornography, all of it, should be blocked, because the ladies are complaining that the husbands used to show them affection in the marital act, and now they are smashing their wives in the face, and then they don't want to do it at all, and the wives wake up in the middle of the night and they're on their laptops with their porn girls. The ladies have said, when they catch their husbands looking at these things, do you want this girl or do you want those girls? We have a 60% divorce rate in the West, approaching 60% today. And half the reason of the divorces in the West is because the lady checks the history, or she comes home and catches her husband watching other ladies undress, watching them having sex, and she is not willing to share. The jealousy of love says, no way, we're not willing. The natural thing is one lifetime lover. The intimacy between two people is violated by the man or the girl looking at all these images. We don't want that to happen in India. In the Western countries, according to my survey, it's gone far, and other surveys, it's gone far worse. Internet pornography causes 25% of high school girls to expose themselves for a better boyfriend on their web camera. They expose themselves, they undress, for a better boyfriend or for money. In other words, internet pornography is turning our high school girls into prostitutes en masse. We don't want that in India, so we need to tell them the full-on consequences on what's happening. And let's say you think, okay, pornography is okay in India. Well then, if you really want to allow pornography on the internet, then why not allow girls, 20 girls to walk down MG Road stripped, naked, and allow that. Don't arrest them, just allow them. Or let me be even more graphic and little grotesque, but to make my point, would we allow a couple to come on the stage in assembly and demonstrate to all our high school children how it's done. 9 o'clock, Monday morning assembly, undressing and doing their business and teaching them what intercourse is. That is what is happening through the internet. Multiple times a day they're watching these sex scenes. That is what's going on. That is totally unacceptable in assembly. It's totally unacceptable for naked people on the streets, and therefore it's totally unacceptable in the internet. The internet is a public place. It should not, absolutely should not be allowed today. Lady India is stepping away from her traditions and the river of life that she's been anchored to for so long, and she's stepping back and she's going towards the sewage and she's picking up a piece of caca or shit, and it's got the name porno written on it, and she's smelling it and tasting it and saying, oh, it's so nice, it's so lovely. And she doesn't realizing it's poisoning her whole system. India needs to make a decision. And by putting this in the internet, by putting this in the education system, will stop the wrong decision that Lady India is doing, will bring her back into the right direction. You don't have to reduce your students to the status of laboratory rats in an untried social experiment. When this has been going on in the Western countries for years, with all their millions of divorces, with all their millions of homosexual partnerships, with all their organizations that say, we want an old man to be able to marry an 8-year-old boy. They have organizations for that today. They say that marriage should be unlimited by gender or by number or by age. This is what's being argued. We don't have to try this social experiment and reduce our students to laboratory rat status when this has gone on en masse in the foreign countries and is proved it doesn't work. We need to really push for parental software to be put on all digital devices. Even if somehow someone works out a way of getting past the internet blocks, which hopefully the government will put, it is extremely hard to get around a parental block software. And even if they do, what parental software does is give a report to the parents every day or every week what Facebook accounts, what email addresses, what phone numbers, what websites their child has gone on. You see, for all ages, children are supervised when they're young. And what happens is the parents will, their 13-year-old girl, they want to know where she's going at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Which house? Do they know the parents? Do they know the daughter? We supervise the children's real world, but what we now need to teach the parents of the children and students in our schools and higher secondary schools and colleges, where are our children going in cyber worlds? And parental software is freely available on the net, and it completely keeps a track on what our children are doing and what's happening to them. It will also block all internet pornography, determined by the level that we set it. For example, K9 is a free software. At the default level, it will block all pornography. It basically, there's programs and there's people day and night typing in, searching for it, and accessing and putting all the sites and pages, adverts that have these things. I mean, the children just suddenly comes up. It will block even that. The problem is there's YouTube and social networking, Facebook, which has many other non-websites, but just people that upload from the public, and it's hard to check some of these. So it will cut those out, and you can decide which ones you want to go on. We can teach the parents that what they should do is then link up to be a friend with their children. So their child, they befriend him, so anything their child sends, they will get a copy of. Some children will have a secret Facebook account, so the parent goes on the computer. We don't allow our computer admin to be our child. We, the parent, are the admin person, and then we give an account for the child so we can see what Facebook accounts they have, and we can make sure we sign up as a friend. That when they're young, we can explain why we're doing this and check it every now and then. If they get a secret one, then we can teach our parents that they can gently ask them why and talk about these issues. And if we're talking about it in the school, it'll be much easier for the parents to support and talk about it in the home. The tab should be preloaded with porn blocking software. That's going ahead. We should give a letter to the parents at high school and higher secondary school concerning these issues, explaining how to use porno blocking software, parental software, canine software, etc. And they're teaching them to not allow their high school children to have their mobiles in the night, distracting them from their work, and obviously that's not the right time for them to be talking in the night. Make sure that our network of our computers in the school has a firewall or porn blocking software. As I said before, these issues to address is a little embarrassing. But you see, the way we unprogram the children's and students' expectation of watching sexual scenes that are immoral is by teaching them the moral, higher, superior path, the real sexual relationship, one lifetime sleeping partner. There is the only way that we can neutralize some of the temptations for them to watch the perverse version is by exposing that it is perverse, by showing the true version. Marriage is true romance. Marriage is the true way that people are sexually fulfilled. It's not a variety of lovers that gives maximum sexual fulfillment. It is intimacy with one lifetime lover. Sex is the icing on the cake. Without a relationship, it's meaningless. When someone goes with a prostitute, there's no relationship, no commitment. When someone goes with his girlfriend, there's a relationship, but there's no commitment at all. It's the two sides, relationship and lifetime commitment, that gives the bond which maximizes. I always tell students, why for the sake of 2 years of sex with your girlfriend before you're married do you spoil 50 years of sex with your wife, with your husband, for after you're married? If we can be honest and talk about these issues, it is still embarrassing, so a lot of this is being done as digital classroom, like these videos. Let's be bold when we're doing the discussion. They should be informed, we should be informed so we can answer some of their questions. They don't usually ask any questions. They're usually too embarrassed. We have a dichotomy here. The superior moral values in India has increased this problem. What's happened is we have a generation that is so modestly dressed, excellent, that has a very low divorce rate, 1%, excellent, that has not had pornography. Sex is a taboo subject, and therefore when all these things are going on in the younger generation, the older generation is one, not aware, and two, finds it very difficult to address the issue and talk about it. Even the teaching staff. 16 or so years ago, the government instigated sex education. This is not sex education, it's the moral side of sex education. But the teaching union said, no, we cannot teach this. And so it was pushed down until now. And but now it behoves us, because we've seen, by not addressing the issue, it has multiplied exponentially. It has become an epidemic. It has moved forwards, and we have to deal with it now. We need to understand, if we're to understand why we need to so deeply address these issues, we need to understand the depth of the problem. Pornography is addictive in time and in many other ways. And like all bad habits, it starts off on a low level and goes on to a high level. So for example, someone starts drinking wine, then they progress onto whiskey. They start taking marijuana, they go on to cocaine. Any bad habit will give an initial kick for 2 years and then become less buzz, less satisfying. And therefore, the young person will seek a higher level of that particular addiction to get the same buzz, be it alcohol, drugs, or pornography. And it's the higher levels of pornography which is waking up the whole world to see this has to be stopped. This thing is far worse than those other two bad habits which I previously described. The film industry is regulated, even though it's a potentially less dangerous. Every film has a certification. This is adult movie, this is for family, this is for small children. The internet is unregulated completely. That has to change. The internet is another difference. If you want to take a house or a motorbike, you have to produce ID proof. There is no need for ID proof on the internet. You can be talking to anyone and have no idea who they are. Cyber ethics teaches that you reveal your truth identity, but realistically, unless we do it in a way and develop some method of digital, that we have to have our name attached to our computer, we have to have a logging system that gives our identity. Some years ago, all the 2011 guidelines for cyber cafes, they have to take the identity of everyone who logs on. And because it's a complete anonymity, it means the guys have no fear of looking at all this stuff. We should chase up who's watching child porn, and they should have restrictions on their life like their foreign countries are starting to do because of all the people watching child porn today. We should have more sites where people can sign up. I give some of the sites. They can say and report where they've seen child porn sites, and the computer emergency response team that's in charge of blocking these sites in Delhi can take action. Their email address is at the end of this session. Okay, let's understand then the depth of this porno addiction. You see, the time, distraction from studies, when they watch more and more, it spoils their personality because they don't have a relationship with that girl. That porno star can't say no to them. And they begin to only see girls in one way. The three most harmful ways that this becomes more and more addictive is, number one, the perverse route. They watch more and more perverse things, undescribable things. I've done multiple raids with police on shops that sell pornography to high school children. And we've arrested in the last few months about 12 people who were selling porn to young people. We sent people in as actors, and they loaded their chips. Whether it's an adult or young person, doesn't make any difference. IT Act 2008, 5 years in jail for distributing pornography. So if your year 9 girl takes her chip or her pen drive and gives it to someone else with porn, well, apart from the fact she's not 18, it's 5 years in jail. So this is become a criminal offence today, quite rightly so, to try and stop it spreading. But the internet is spreading it. We should be taking to task every level, the communication companies. They should be held accountable for what they're broadcasting. They should be forced to block it. And also the Facebook and YouTube, they should be accountable. Otherwise it should be blocked, or they shouldn't be allowed. In India, we can make our own Indian version of Facebook. Anyway, let's get back to the point. So, the perverse routes. We have students phoning up our NGO saying, "Sir or madam, everything you said in your class was true. I had 3 sexual relationships with the people, classmates. I've been watching porn for 5 years." This is a girl saying on the phone recently. She said, "The last few months I've woken up and I'm horrified. I no longer desire to sleep with a guy. I'm longing to sleep with another girl." Her immoral activities and her addiction to pornography reversed the direction of her sexual orientation. There are millions and millions of people who this has happened to. Just Google the statistics on the internet for the Western countries. That's why recently, country after country is legalizing a man trying to marry another man. NCC camp, we have a tent for the boys, separate tent for the girls. If we legalize homosexuality, which tent will we put the homosexual boys in? Will we put them in the third tent? Then they play with each other, or the girls' tent, the girls like them, or the boys' tent? It doesn't work. We have boys' toilets, girls' toilets. The guys don't want another guy standing next to them, lusting over them. These things don't work in society. Hospital wards, male, female. You have to have a separate tent in NCC for each of the homosexuals. And someone said a funny joke. They said, well, you can put one of the lesbians in with each of the guys, and the guy and the girl, well, it's not really funny, they won't be tempted with each other. But then what will happen is the next year, all the straight guys will say, when the survey is taken, okay, who's straight, who's homosexual that needs a separate tent, 2 by 2, and the straight guys may be tempted to say, well, I'm homosexual, so they get their own tent with a girl. Okay, we won't go there. It doesn't work. Male and female. This is the natural order of things. And it should be kept restrained. In this Goa, the first higher secondary school we went to after our program, 7 students came up to my staff member and argued for 1 hour. We play with girls, then we play with guys. There's nothing wrong, it's love. Doesn't affect anyone. Doesn't affect anyone. You see, we've had this in the West for decades now, and we have to keep our distance from girls for propriety, except for one girl that becomes our wife, and we have to keep our distance from guys, and we have to keep our distance from the next door neighbour's little children, because they may think we're a paedophile, the boys may think we're a homosexual. If you legalise these things, you rob everyone else of their normal relationships. No, it definitely does affect people. It is unnatural. This is a big desire in human beings. It needs to be held restrained. That's why we have laws controlling a divorce, controlling when we're allowed to have sex, etc. Okay, the next perversion is the child route. And people want younger and younger porn stars. At the beginning they may be excited looking at a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old or 25-year-old, but then whether it's older men or students, they want to see younger and younger girls. As I said before, what they watch at the beginning doesn't give them a kick. They start searching for child pornography. Ashwani Kumar, head or former head of CBI, stated that 200,000 girls every year in India are kidnapped to make these child porn videos or to become part of the sex trades in India today. UNICEF, the United Nations for Children, they said 3 times as many of that, or 4 times, are, and the World Health Organization as well, they gave statistics that many times more than that are also kidnapped in India to be human trafficked abroad for the brothels of Thailand or New York. Indian girls are easy pickings, they say. You see, a girl, drugs can be sold once, but a girl's body can be sold, well, the survey we did in Goa, 20% of the college guys said that they use prostitutes regularly, like once a month. They spend an average 2,000 rupees, and the average age of the prostitute that they get is 20 years old, their age, average. So some are much younger. People that watch child pornography want to have a girl to try it out with. This child pornography is fueling the kidnapping of our high school girls. We think it will never happen to us. Almost 1 million a year. They get tortured, they get raped, and they get starved for 2 weeks until they're sold on for 5 lakhs to a brothel, and then they're used 10 times a night by perverse, ugly men until they die of AIDS 7 or 8 years later. This is the worst form of slavery we've ever had in India today. And how can we allow this to be fed unchallenged in our education system? Well, it is being challenged now, and hopefully these videos are the first of something which can be done better and better. And we're explaining, taking the time to explain it to the staff so that you will understand why this is why the Director of Education and the Chairman of the Board of Goa Education is seeking to implement this to deal with the issue. You cannot separate the roots of pornography from its fruits of female feticide, abortion, increasing rape and human trafficking, increasing divorce, increasing sexual immorality, prostitution, spread of AIDS. These fruits, everyone says is wrong. It's time we deal with the roots of the problem. We need to explain to our young people the reality of what will happen if they allow themselves to be addicted to internet pornography. They say it's harmless. It is not harmless. Those millions of girls are suffering as a testimony constantly. I warn all the guys that I speak to and teach. and in the videos, well, they will be warned. If they watch child pornography, God will hold them responsible for what was done to that girl. They are responsible, because when they click on that site, they increase the traffic on that site. They get more traffic, they can get more advertising, they get more money to keep their popularity. They have to get fresh videos, they have to go to the brothels of Bombay and pay for fresh child porn videos. The brothels want fresh ones to replace the dying girls, and to get fresh videos for their producers, for the websites. Watching porn feeds the human trafficking or the kidnapping and the 10 times a day rape of young girls. You cannot separate it. I've done multiple TV interviews and discussions, and I'm ashamed of the other people in the media who say, there's no connection. What do you mean there's no connection between watching rape and doing a rape? Between every program on television we have adverts. These adverts will cause people, when they see that brand of soap, gold or motorbike, to desire to buy that very thing. What we watch absolutely does affect our choices. Let's not be in cuckoo land or pretend it doesn't. Corporations spend crores of rupee on advertising. Violent porn is advertising rape. 80% of the college boys we surveyed in Goa said that when they watched, that they believe when they're watching rape, they desire to actually do a rape. 80%. Do you know how many guys, and this is the third level of perversion, more and more violence? At higher secondary school level, 30% of the students will begin to watch violent pornography. That rises to 60% by the time they're in college. In other words, during the higher secondary, they're bored with just the photos and just the BFs and the sex movies. They want something far more strong. They're moving from wine to whiskey, and we have to speak against it. We have to warn them. We don't want to inject the school of rape en masse into our nation, do we? We don't want to turn our young guys into paedophiles that want to do it with a baby, do we? If we continue to allow this perverse, this youth and this violent pornography to go on unchecked and without even speaking about it, we already have 30,000 rapes a year in India, and many go unreported. How much more is it going to be in one generation's time? An army of rapists is being raised up, and contrary to what some of my peers in the media world say, it absolutely does affect someone's emotions, someone's desires, and we are ruining our nation if we are allowing this to go. We want to make sure everyone is listening to these videos and they hear exactly what it's going to do to them. The next level of addiction in pornography, so we've done perverse route, the youth route, the violent routes. The next level is, we don't talk about in this series, but this more goes on in the foreign countries. I haven't seen, it's going on somewhere here, but we don't want to advertise it yet. Maybe this is more for college level. It's called not texting, but sexting. And this is personal porn. Now in the foreign countries, none of the ones I described above are what they want to watch. They want personal porn. They want the girl in their class. So someone has to conquer that girl and sleep with her, and then they all get the video. Or the guy wants to make some money and says, he sleeps with her, keeps the camera in the corner, and says, unless you get me 50,000, I'm going to pass this around. Or you have to sleep with 5 of my friends, otherwise I'm putting this on the internet. Blackmail. This is becoming a huge issue, so much so that they're passing laws about this in other countries. India does not have to go that far. We can see what's going on and make a good decision in the right direction. The students can make a personal decision as we warn them again and again, as this is introduced from year 8 up to hopefully college level. As we speak about these issues, we find in our lectures up to 50% of the guys at college level and more at higher secondary school level will immediately that day install porno blocking software. When they don't want to be a homosexual, a rapist, or a paedophile. And they say, that's it. They put it on. They knew it was wrong, but now they've been pushed over the edge, and then they need to be encouraged again and again. We've talked about these issues, and the girls have put posters. We need to put some posters around our college. They've done marches saying, we will never marry a guy who watches pornography. We can't blame them. 90,000 naked girls they've seen before they're married. Who would want to marry a pervert like that? In the olden days, it was only 0.1% that watched pornography. It was illegal in India. IPC section 292. Explicit material illegal. It went on, but it was very restrained and limited until the internet time. The internet, until it's restrained, and even after that, we need to address this issue. But just imagine that someone got out of their house and they went in the night and peeped through the window of a girl next door who's having a shower, or the couple this side who are having their first night, or a young married couple doing their business. That guy that's peeping through the window, what would we call him? A pervert. That is exactly what our high school boys are doing. Not through those windows or the shower windows, but through Microsoft Windows and through the windows of their mobiles and tabs and digital devices. And we need to expose what's going on, and we cannot allow this just because it's being done in secret. The other topics that we cover on this series is why they should have no sex before marriage. The porn will inspire them. 30% of the guys in Goa by the time they're in college, according to our survey of 15 colleges with a random sample of 15 in each, and thousands across other parts of India, our survey show that sleep with their girlfriends while they're in their college years, college age. They're emboldened because they think that family planning is 100% successful. It's not. It's 75% successful in a one-year relationship, according to the Center of Disease Control, USA. And we need to explain to them what happens when they get pregnant. When they sleep with someone, they have a chance of getting their girlfriend pregnant. Then what are they going to do? We need to show them the science of fetal development. When they see the reality of life, let me go into that in a minute. And the horror of an abortion, so they can make a good choice. I don't want this, and therefore I don't want to lose my virginity. My first night should be my first night, not my 10th night. And they should stay pure until they're married. Let's look lastly then at this issue of medical termination of pregnancy. We see that today approximately 60% of abortions occur amongst young people, either newlyweds, young couples, or unmarried. 20% of all abortion, at least. It's very hard to get these statistics, and there have been different statistics taken. I'm taking the average. We've done lots of our own investigations. This is across South India. I'll tell you Goa more specifically in a moment. But 20% because they're not married. Only 2% of abortion is because of rape, physically or mentally handicapped, or to save the mother. And it's because they're just married and they didn't prepare themselves for having a family. 20% of abortion is that. They think just about lover, they don't think about family and having children. So that's why we need to talk to them about this issue when we have them in the higher secondary and college. Start speaking about the value of life of the unborn. And I'm just going to quickly show a little PowerPoint about the medical termination of pregnancy. Okay, so we've shown the reality of the children. Sex produces children. You cannot separate it, except for the operation. Young people are not ready for that. They want to have children later on. So you cannot separate, absolutely, intercourse from creating these beautiful ones. They need to understand this is the product of intercourse. Perhaps, often. No one would throw away their baby like this that's born, but what they're doing is throwing away their baby like this that's pre-born. This is a 4-month-old fetus. This is a 3-month-old fetus. When we show the children the reality of what the fetuses look like, it's self-evident that it's a human being. And therefore it is unethical for them to terminate it. Most people, when they see this, they say, I will never have an abortion. I say that again. 99% of the young people, when they study the fetal development and the photos and the video, say we will never have an abortion because it's our own baby. It's not skin and bones. That lie goes. We educate them. That deception that the nursing clinics say, it's only skin and bones. What? At 3 months, it's sucking its thumb, it's smiling, its fingerprint is there, all its organs are forming. It's small, but it's human. It can feel pain. Its brain thinks from, the brainwaves are detectable from 40 days, the heart's beating at 3 weeks into the 9 months of pregnancy. Yes, it is a human being. We teach the students in one session about the methods of abortion. Our aim is not to make people feel guilty for having an abortion if someone already has. Our aim is to limit or stop this happening in the future, or limit it as much as possible, so they don't go through the scars of guilt. And if some people have had an abortion, we don't condemn them. We give them hope, and we talk about the issue of guilt, because we can't give one side without the other. And the purposes of this particular lecture that comes is not to condemn those that have had an abortion, but to stop it continuing in the future. We go through the methods of abortion, like the abortion tablet, which actually originally is the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, is actually illegal for an unmarried lady, except for those 3 extreme reasons: rape, handicapped, or to save the mother's life. But now is being given out often illegally. And this is what the baby looks like after the abortion tablet is taken. And it looks like this as well, which is where the mother is forced to have, she goes into the labour and her baby comes out, or her womb will crush the baby, whose skull and ribs will burst open, like in those photos. Or completely illegally, this is hysterotomy, fully formed baby. C-section comes, they cut it out. Instead of putting it into the ICU, they will put it into the bin. Now again, this photo is disturbing, but it's the truth. It's not made up. The bins in the hospitals of India are being filled with babies. 20%, well, 60% young people, 20% unmarried people. Why? Because we did not tell them the reality of what intercourse produces. And therefore the girl, we emboldened her thinking that contraception was, in our AIDS classes, was 100% when it's not. And so we get all these young unwanted pregnancies because they were not afraid to have sex. And this is the fruits. In our films today, we are advertising sexual immorality day and night. We can't blame the younger generation. And all the films, they have the lovers going off into the bedroom. And again, they're getting one side of it. We need to give the whole truth to the younger generation. They don't put this in the movies, do they? If they want to show a bedroom scene, let them put this photo in as well, showing what happens 6 months later. Instead, after the C-section, instead of the baby being put into the ICU, it's put into the litter bin, the waste bin. The last method of abortion is the D&E or D&C operation. This is where the forceps go in, or the curate at a D&C, which is 6 weeks to 3 months, 3 months to 5 months. They induce their pregnancy, or they used to use D&E. Sometimes they still use D&E now. And this is only legal if 2 doctors agree for it, and only for those rare occasions. As I said, most of it is done for other reasons, or illegally, or they don't even ask. But I think the D&C and the D&E clearly show the horror of what they are doing to the product of their intercourse. The forceps will go in and grab one of the limbs of the preborn baby who's totally alive and given no painkiller. The doctor will twist it if it's D&E, or cut it if it's D&C, and take that one leg or limb out. He will then put the forceps or cutting pliers back inside, grab another limb. The baby is literally dismembered or ripped to pieces in the mother's womb. Again, abortion, the horror of it, testifies against itself. Once they see, like this next photo, the reality of what an abortion is, they decide they will never have an abortion. If abortion is not an option, then sex before marriage, which has a risk of pregnancy, is no longer an option. That's why it behoves us. It is essential that we give them the whole picture, then they can make an educated choice. And most of them will not go for these bad lifestyles that we see exponentially increasing. See, people drink. When they drink, they lose their conscience, unless it's strong in them. They go off and they do these things. We also teach them, this is why you shouldn't drink, because you lose your conscience. This is what the arms and legs look like just before. And systematically the baby's body is ripped to pieces and taken out like this. This is what the head should have looked like when it was born. Instead it's crushed and taken out of the mother's womb. This is what the baby should have looked like after it was born. Instead it looks like this. The abortionist is placing the legs on the table with the rest of the parts of the fetus. These are the photos taken from a textbook to train gynecologists how to do an abortion. Again, this is the software that can be downloaded. It's called parental software, or K9. You can put it for your own children on your computer systems. You can check that their digital devices they bring in, that they've got porno blocking software, and that the parents have put the password in. Let's be bold. When we put these videos on for our students in computer awareness, the cyber ethics series of around 7 lectures during higher secondary, let's make sure that the children are concentrating, they take it seriously, make sure there's good audio, we check the equipment first. Each one is about 50-52 minutes. That won't give chance for question and answers, but we have counsellors and supervisors who can come in, who are also being trained, and en masse we can make sure the younger generation are fully educated on these issues, and so many of these social issues can be dramatically reduced. And India can be an excellent international example of a country that's going back to its traditional moral values. Thank you so much.